Hi, welcome to another edition of Relatable. I am your host, Stephanie Michele. This is the show where we talk about exceptional human encounters, the people who make them happen, and the actions it takes to create them. Both very important. This episode of Relatable is pre-recorded on Monday, June 24th. So those of you watching tomorrow on Tuesday, hi. Am I in the future? Yeah, I'm kind of in the future right now. Today, I need to rant a bit to release some energy on something that's very frustrating and angers me every time I experience it. And it's something that I call soundbite snobbery. Okay, so sound bites are prepared lines of speech said by people with the intention to force a narrative. Soundbite snobbery is what I call the experience of witnessing or interacting with someone where they continue to say the same thing over and over again with no connection to the conversation that's actually taking place. And as if their point of view and their words carry more value than the shared interaction of the conversation. Now, politicians do this all the time, so you're probably thinking when I'm explaining this, like, yeah, I've seen a politician do this. And it's extremely likely every person that you've witnessed being interviewed in the media has been trained by a public relations person to be relentless in delivering their sound bites. Now, here's something to consider. If the story you're telling yourself requires you to prepare and memorize statements that you will use in a conversation no matter how it goes, you're probably a bad communicator. I'm sorry, you just are. Practicing delivering words and thoughts that are important to you, that's fine. Yeah, we should do that. We need to do that. That's very helpful. But the essence of a good conversation is enriched interaction, which is severely impeded by if one person in the conversation is limited to their own monologue. If you want people to connect with you, with what you're saying, listen and ask questions and answer their questions when they ask you. Also understand, when a message is received by the intended recipient, there is, I don't even know what I just said. Recipient? Recipient. Yeah, right? Me and words and me. I don't know what's happening. Anyhow, when a message is received by the intended person, there's no reason to repeat it. So if you find yourself repeating yourself, then they haven't got the message. And just find another way to say what you need to say. And ask, what's coming up when you're sharing something. Ask what's coming up with that person, or ask am I making sense? For the record, if you want an example of a soundbite snobbery, and this is what I watched this morning to get to this point, watch the video of Vice President Mike Pence being interviewed by CNN's Jake Tapper about the threat of climate change. Yeah, not good. Just watch it and see if you can see what I mean. This is not how humans should be interacting with each other. I'm sorry, there's very few things that I get so adamant about, but we should not be interacting with each other this way. And this is definitely not what leadership looks like. We are the only species on this earth that can enrich each other by words and thoughts. I believe there's no greater human value than our ability to love, connect, and have compassion with each other. When we use this ability, high impact problem solving happens, and we don't use it, it's like handing the keys to that Mayhem guy in that Allstate commercial. There's going to be consequences to that. That's all I've got to say. So for the love of yourself and for each other, slow down, listen, learn, and connect with people outside of your comfort zone. That's what I'm feeling today. Yeah. Speaking of comfort, I just want to point out these awesome pants that I'm wearing by Eva Varo. It's kind of like wearing liquid leather, and I was joking off camera that I think I want to take a butt selfie. They're so amazingly comfortable and kind of hot, and I like them. So yeah, check them out. If you haven't been to her website in a while, I know she's got new stuff there. It's avavaro.com, and you can use Relate20 to get 20% off your order. Right? Yes. All right, I'm so excited to get to you. I just can't even all right. So when I first got to talk to my guest today, it was such a gift. I've been waiting to tell you this. She's been here for a while, and I'm like, I just want to tell you. Her words and her energy and her willingness to connect on a soul level was exactly what I needed in the moment. And it was, yeah, it was really awesome. It was the kind of exceptional human encounter that we talk about on this show. And it made me feel like there was nothing more important than us talking at that moment. There was nothing else that I was supposed to be doing than to be talking with you. And as you said, earlier today, if if we like were a disaster on the show somehow and didn't connect for whatever reason, that moment would have been enough.
Diana.
Yeah. So joining me today on the Relatable couch is Indigo Mateo. She is a New Jersey vocalist who creates art for the world to heal and transform. She is currently touring her debut album, Intuition, which I love. I've listened to it. It's awesome, which invites listeners to look within through storytelling and spirituality. Indigo is a co-owner of a social impact record label called Question Culture. And yes, you've heard of that before because that's Richie Resita's. She's partners with Richie Resita, episode 110. That's his record label as well.
Yes.
And she's the founder of Soul Showers, a space where survivors of sexual violence cleanse the shame and heal in the sun.
Yes.
There's Clemens over there. We cry. I should have told you that.
I cried.
Yeah,
this is great. We connected. This is like the pre-connection and then now the connection.
I know. I've been excited to meet you in person. Yeah. How are you?
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. Like, connecting with people is something that I love to do. Yeah. I do remember that conversation. I remember being in ShopRite and being like trying to do a million things, but I was just so there with you that I was like neglecting everything around me.
Yeah. What was going on? You were trying to get your grandma somewhere? Yeah, what was happening?
Took my grandma to the supermarket, but I just I did feel like that importance of like our conversation and like that's really special to me. So being invited to come talk to you and connect and have, it be on camera and the opportunity to connect with more people is really exciting to me. So thanks for inviting me.
Totally my pleasure.
Yeah, and huge shout out to Richie Resita.
Yeah, Richie.
Bro.
Yeah, so awesome. So I got to rant a little bit, so I always ask the guests, like, is there something that's pulling your attention before we just get into our conversation today that you really want to put out there too?
For sure. Well, I definitely heard what you were saying about listening and deep listening. And I guess something that's been coming up for me lately is, well, in the past couple of years, it's been a lot about how am I listening to people. And like, I'll do this thing where I'll just literally repeat what they're saying so that I can really like tap all the way in to what they're saying instead and like kind of decrease my own mind chatter.
Yeah.
But I'm coming back to this notion of also listening to self. And putting time aside to do that for myself. Because I think, like you said, when people are in a conversation and all they can say is their inner thoughts or like those like, just those sound bites that come off super rude and not connected. I think my hypothesis is like they haven't actually had time to listen to what their soul is saying in their own spare time. Yeah. And so it feels really scarce when someone else is trying to speak because you feel like, well, you need to get your piece out and you need to get your thing out. And I encourage like people that I work with and myself all the time to like have that conversation with myself first before I try to have it with someone else, or just have a conversation with myself first before I try to serve my community. Because like we all have our own needs and like every day is different. Yeah. And so I be really like looking in the mirror like what do you need? Yeah. Like what's good with Indigo? Yeah. And sometimes I just have to like connect with myself on some petty stuff. Yeah. that is real for me. Yeah. And then I can like leave it behind and like continue my day.
Totally. There's like three things actually that came up when you were sharing that. So one, you saying that you repeat back what people say. That's actually called mirroring, and that is like a tactic to like use, and especially if you're, feeling that you're about to like you're really in this trigger zone and you're going to say something and you're like, oh, I'm not going to be able to take that back. That's a good way of like, okay, let me make sure I got what you just said, and like and it kind of calms the situation. So it's a really, really helpful practice, like easy thing to do, I think, to help connect. The checking in with yourself. Oh my God, I think we talk about that so much on this couch that we are just constantly consuming information and stuff, and if you're on this planet and you have a cell phone, like that's just your life, right? Yeah. And I think it's really important, more important than it ever has been, to stop and slow down and check in and see where you are, because like I've read a meme and it's hit me somewhere, like not in a good place, and I might want to jump on like and respond to that and comment, but like maybe I shouldn't respond at that moment. Like maybe I really need to check in, like, okay, why is this coming up? Like, so I think that's really important. And now I forgot the third thing, because what you said in the end, you said something in the end, I was like, yeah, I feel that too. whatever, doesn't
giving
matter.
myself that pep talk of like, I have some petty stuff I need to put aside and continue with the day.
Yeah, the acknowledgement. So I'm learning more and more each day, like that you have to acknowledge the darkness, the hard stuff, just in order to bring any light to it. Like you can't just ignore it, right? Like you gotta, okay, that's that. You know, let's deal with that. Let's give that some light. And I think you know a lot about that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I read a quote yesterday, reading an article that it said that neutrality never helps the victim. It never helps the tormentor. It only perpetuates the it never helps the tormented. It only gives power to the tormentor. So thinking about our voices and like how powerful we are when we like step into our truth, and when we choose. You know, when we like really decide to choose. So yeah, choice, listening, that's all like relevant to me. But another thing that came up was what's happening in Sudan right now, what's happening at the border, at Texas, like in Texas, and all the ICE stuff going on right now. Like it's occurred to me like in the healing work that there's a real place for rage, and that rage is actually an activator in the movement, that really helps people get together. And like we really should be outraged that like children are being locked up in warehouses, and you know, people in Sudan are being, you know, killed for practicing, you know, their right to live. And so yeah, that's definitely been on my heart, and I've been trying to figure out how to like really channel my rage in a way that feels like productive in any way.
What have you come up with?
You know,
like, were you write or like?
I've been more so like reading and trying to like wrap my head around what is my place in different movements that I'm like connected to and have solidarity with, but might feel like just a little bit more distant from as well. And what I've done is really just lean on like the people who are like really more closer to the problem and to the solution, and been really tuning into their content. So like a lot of like, you know, Sudanese folks on Instagram have just been like really taking to their platform to be like, this is how we feel, this is how I feel, this is like what's been happening. And so like educating myself is like, I guess, where I'm at now, but I've been like hungry to figure out like how to plug in to different movements while still like, you know, maintaining that effectiveness, and just sometimes I guess for me that just looks like supporting the people who I know are really doing the important work. So that's been on my heart as well, and it's good for me to know that like I'm also one of those people and who's doing the work around like, you know, sexual violence and, you know, mass incarceration as well. So it's nice to know that like being in solidarity is effective. And
being able to find the right people that you can connect with, that you trust, that are going to be able to move it forward too, right?
Precisely.
Because this also comes up a lot on this couch, that, you know, I think that we feel such an urgency, right? There's not a lot of great stuff going on right now, and that, I mean, that's not funny at all. Like, and you feel like I want to do something, but I'm barely taking care of myself right now, and so you've got to find this balance of what can I do and still maintain some mental energy, mental health, so I can continue to help, right? It's challenging. It's challenging. I don't even think that that's like a thing that can be like balanced. It's just like a thing that we're now dealing with as humans.
Totally. And I think we have more momentum when there's like a sense of it working, you know? So that's why I say it's good to go to the people who, you know, are doing the work, because you know, energy is everywhere. So whether it's your time and your money or your resources, it's like you will feel a loss, like it didn't work if you give it foolishly. You know, if you just donate to some organization that you have really no idea what they do and there's no accountability there, like it's it can feel, you can have a negative experience doing that. And so I really like to be like in relationship with like people that I like support and the causes that I support, because it makes me feel like okay, cool, like the energy that I put out is going somewhere.
You know exactly where it's going.
So like I can take care of myself and do that. Like it's an achievable balance, and it kind of takes away from the myth that like we have to be everyone to everyone, everything to everyone. And it's like I learned that maybe the hard way, but probably not the hardest way. That like, you know, it's not a bad thing to be in a lane and to support, you know, other folks doing really what they're put on this earth to do, and what's really real for folks. So yeah.
I think it comes down to what we were talking about off camera. We're back to trust again, right? Like you do your homework, you become literate in something that's important to you or that you care about, and then you move forward in action because you trust that that's going to go in the right direction.
Correct. Like business moves at the speed of trust. We were talking about that before too. And like that is like something that I heard it once, and then like it just has been so relevant ever since. Like really the way that, you know, the quality to which we connect to me is really what makes things move in my life. And so I want to use that same tactic when it comes to like movement and my own career, and like eventually like my family and stuff like that.
Trust and making it safe for people. It's a big word in here. Well, I don't want to go here because I want to, like, I feel very lightful. Like, I want to stay light with you, but I want.
We can go.
I know. But I want people to know a little bit about your story and your background to really understand, like, how special you are.
Well, thank you.
And where this energy is coming from. So, if I just said, Indigo, what's your story? Like, what would you say?
Wow.
Such an open-ended question. I don't know. What's my story? Like, you want to sing your story? You can sing it if you want to.
It's way easier. Like, can I just sing my album? Because then, like, you guys will understand everything. Maybe more than what you want to know. But, yeah, so what came up just when you asked me that was just, like, little Indigo, like, my inner child. Like, the person I've always been. And that person has always been very resilient, not afraid to like confront things that are heavy, but also not afraid to smile through it and be like unapologetic in that. And so like I've always kind of like, I don't want to say make light of situations because that's not what I do, but I definitely pull out the joy in most situations that life hands me. And so learning how to do that at a young age was really key for me, and kind of like it definitely like ties into the story that I live every day. So I'm a survivor of like childhood molestation, and then rape as an adult. So like from a young age I did like learn that, like, you know, I first of all I just want to say, like, I feel like God has blessed me and has been like so merciful towards me. Like I feel like all the negative things I've experienced in my life have like still been like in a petri dish still. Like, you know, like I feel like I've been very favored in that way, where it's like, okay, here's the negative situation and deal with it in the best possible support system. Like, you know, or deal with it in a solid support system. And so like when people praise me for being so resilient and being so joyful and doing this work, like I have to just like give that praise like to God, because like I feel like it's the positions that I was in, it's the people that I met, it's like the exceptional human encounters that were put on my path that really wound me up here, you know, as an artist, as someone who's living my dreams, as someone who's like out in the world.
So you think it's like you've been able to see something bigger. It wasn't about your ego, and it's like, okay, this is an experience that happened to you, but it's like I'm bigger, I'm connected to something greater, bigger than this, and I'm supported to get through it. Like you've felt that.
And it's been really great to have just an education in like feminism, womanism, and like the things that I studied and the people that influenced me in those ways have really helped me, like, you know, in my support system where people were, you know, doing, like, I don't know how to say this, but like I was very privy to when people weren't helping me, even in my support system. So like I had like the knowledge to be like, I see what you're trying to do, but can you do it like this?
Do you feel like you feel that? Like, can you feel like, okay, I know you mean well, but my intuition, album plug, my intuition is telling me that this is actually not helpful. So thank you, but you know, I gotta put some space in between that.
And I think where it's been more courageous is like not space between it, but like bring you closer. Like you're trying to help from over there, and I need you right here.
Okay.
Like, and
so
I think
so then when you said that, what I'm hearing is like, okay, you can acknowledge someone for wanting to give help, and you've been able to articulate that's really helpful, but I need it to be this.
Yes. And that really comes out of like this like ministry, I'm gonna say, like of worthiness, which I feel like there's so many people around the world who are doing the work of like spreading worthiness. And I think something that I try to instill in people that I work with, people who've gone through sexual violence, people who've been through incarceration, is like, no matter what you've been through, like to a point where it's like no matter what you've done, like you are still secured an amount of worthiness that every human is entitled to. And so like if you're not tapping all the way into that worthiness, you're not asking the world what you like for what like you're not asking the world for what you need.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I
Like,
mean,
you're
not
really asking
believing.
for your needs.
I mean, yeah, it's a very spiritual thing to believe in yourself, like and to choose to look through this world with a lens that says, yes, I'm worthy. These people are worthy. These people are, you know.
Yes, and even when you're down, especially when you're down.
Yeah,
so
especially when
like,
you're down.
In those moments, like I remember, like a really painful time in my life was telling my family and my boyfriend at the time, like that I had been raped, and like just like this feeling of like I am no longer like the same person, because a lot of my fear was like everyone sees me as this happy-go-lucky girl who's like, you know, girl, who's like in this box of like being a girl, and like that is very limiting when it comes to like coming of age and wanting to be taken seriously and wanting to be seen as like a real person with real experiences and the impact of those experiences. And so I did what I told you I learned to do in my life, and I feel like it really defines who I am, is like, you know, person by person, after I told, like they said harmful things to me, and like they weren't the wiser because they were just responding out of their own sadness. And it took for me to see like they love me, like remember that, like don't lose sight that they love you, because these are the people who want to help you. So like a part of my like pain body was saying like, let me just cut them out, you know, let me just not tell them, let me just have these experiences with other people who get me. But it's like I had to really come back to myself and be like, yo, these are the people who do get you. Like you have to help them get you, and you have to connect with them, even though it's hard. And like I didn't want to look at myself in the mirror because I felt like trash, but like I had to like reclaim the queen in me and be like, bro, like this happened, and I'm telling you how to take care of me.
Yeah, well, that's what's so dynamic about your story and you, because a horrible thing happened, but you're this girl. You started your story with, but I'm this girl that's resilient, you know, and joyful, and I'm still her. And I know you were maybe worried in that moment they weren't going to see her anymore, or that she was gone, right? But what you did is used those interactions as a way to strengthen your authenticity and to move into, you know, to take that girl into a new place, right? Like to grow her up. And that's pretty beautiful. I mean, this this is pretty beautiful stuff, because it's like there's so many different things that you could have done with that, you know. And we already talked about, you could be resentful. They're not saying the right things. They're not seeing you, and you're like, no, I'm going to tell you how you're going to see me. Like this is what I need, and you like grew into the light because of that. Your light started to shine by your own words and your own realization. It was nothing that you needed from anybody else.
Totally. And that actually like brings me to kind of what I wanted to say as well, which is like having that conversation with myself first like it didn't happen right away.
Yeah.
But when it did, I say this a lot, like I stopped going like this and I started going like this.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, we're also, I think that this is safe to say, as women, I think we're taught more to merge. And this is, Merle Yost, he's a guest that's been on here before. Merle talks a lot about boundaries, right? And women were taught to like merge. We're like somebody's property. We're gonna be like someone's wife and all this stuff. And so we take on other stuff, right? We're supposed to caretake and whatever. And so we merge into the vision that someone else has for us or who we are, right? But when we stop merging, right? like, and you like, there's only,
That's really powerful.
right? Yeah, there's only one time that we should be, we can interact and love and be compassionate and empathetic, and like none of that involves merging. None of that involves losing who you are, right? The only time merging, I think, actually exists is like a tantric sex kind of, situation where I'm like, okay, that's cool.
I can merge with that.
I'm down with that merge. But other than that, it's like, we should be merging.
Right. We need to really reclaim and own our identity.
Yeah.
And like that's something that Soul Showers is really passionate about. Like the community that we've established is like the cleansing of shame, the repairing of harm, and also that healing in the sun. And like those things, I feel like that trifecta like really helps people reestablish identity.
Yeah.
So that it's not like, how am I gonna make do with this life?
Yeah.
How am I gonna make do with this series of shitty experiences?
Yeah.
It's like, no, baby girl, like who are you? Like what did you want before any of this?
Right. Let's back up and share what those things mean to you. So first, I want you to talk about soul showers. I'm going to ask you about this phrase, cleansing of shame, and then healing in the sun. So let's start with, how do you explain what soul showers is? It's a little hard for me to say. I almost...
Let your soul shower. So that's our start.
Pretty much, that's all you needed to say.
That's in essence what we do.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, so soul showers, I guess I'll start with the title itself. Yes. Came from my experience of going to like nurses and investigators and everybody, and there was like this notion of like, don't take a shower because like we still have to get like evidence off of you and like all this stuff. And I was like, just trying to be, for show, great, get all this evidence, take all my clothes, find this perpetrator, and then like that all just like literally went nowhere.
Yeah.
Like I never saw that person again, like who like committed a crime against me. I never spoke to like that nurse again, or like that investigator again, or like that toxic ass police officer
again. So they're
again.
like in this horrible moment of everything feels wrong and all you want to do is cleanse.
Yes.
Everybody's telling you to be very clinical and treat
your thing, like isolated, just very very sterile environments that I was in, and those were really like harmful in those moments, because like I think if I would love to be someone who like is a safe person in those moments, because I know what it's like to be in that position. But I was like, when is my soul gonna get to shower? Like, and like being in the shower after an experience with your body like that is very healing, because water is healing, it's cleansing, like there's no enemy to water. And then being like, okay, cool, but like when does my soul, like there's the body, like and there's like the soul, and like when am I gonna get my
days
time?
And I'm guessing, please correct me if I'm wrong, but like days, weeks, months afterwards, when there's still an active investigation, like you're still having to hold and retain information, so you don't get this chance of like, look, I need to release this. Like I'm sorry that you haven't caught the guy, but like I gotta, my soul is like dying to like move on here.
Exactly.
And that's
and it was a crucial moment for me when that scale tipped, where it was like so much more important for me to regain my soul. Then I didn't have capacity to think about how is this person going to be held accountable, or how is this person going to be maybe transformed in the process, because that's what I want as a restorative justice practitioner, as someone who wants to abolish prisons. Like that's what I want. But I didn't get that like in this time, and now I understand why a lot of women don't report, a lot of women don't get justice, a lot of women stay silent, because there is no, you know, national system that works with survivors or, you know, people who've experienced sexual trauma to regain our identity and our path and get true justice.
And statistically across the country, like there are unprocessed rape kits like in every police station, right? I mean, I think the last number I saw was like 50 to 60,000 like unprocessed, you know. So there's that, and then there's the cases that they try and don't get anywhere. It's not very high on the totem pole for police stations to work these cases.
Yeah.
It's not.
Exactly.
I mean, and we could go into all these reasons why, you know, what they hold is more important or under-resourced, but.
Yeah. And not to like joke about my own experience, but like sometimes I think like soul showers, like, is this effective? Is this what we need? Like, this is definitely what I needed. Like, is this making an impact in the world? And then I just think about like my dirty underwear and the romper that I wore that night, and it just sitting in a paper bag in a detective's office in a cubby somewhere. And I'm thinking like, you know, that wasn't very helpful. Like, I feel like what I'm doing is like, well, one of the participants, she put it as removing pain. And I was really like happy and pleased to hear that that's what our space like did for her, was because like that's all I wanted. Like, I wanted the pain to be removed.
Why do you say or use the phrase cleanse shame?
Yeah, so that's like the essence of that removing pain, is like the pain comes from a place of like, it's my fault, I deserve this, I'm alone, you know? So those thoughts, like, and they're stress thoughts, but they're also just like spirals of shame that
you could have used the phrase remove shame. Like, I mean, why I mean, why not? Like, why is it a
cleanse?
Yeah, like why was it more important for you to stay in this cleanse shame than remove shame? Do you know? I mean, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but like, words are important. Words matter.
So it's like, I think like remove is what I want. Like, that's very like, and the fact that person had that experience, I was like, tight. But the thing about cleansing is that it continues. You continue to cleanse, you know? Like, when we think about, like, we shower, most of us shower every day, you know? We're constantly washing our hands. There's things, our hands get dirty again. Our bodies get dirty again. So when we think about, like, cleansing shame and, like, the framework of soul showers, one of the biggest things that I want people to take away from the curriculum is implementing rituals in their daily lives. And that, to me, is where the gold is, because, you know, anyone can go to a conference. Like, everyone's been to a conference where, like, they had a life-changing experience, and then they feel, like, that disconnect after.
You forget it. Or you read a book and you forget it.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I remember that time I was a little bit more woke than I am now.
Yeah.
I was at that conference.
Yeah.
I truly believe that, like, these experiences, this is, like, my favorite part of, like, Soul Showers culture, shared language moment, is, like, milestones. And, like, to me, milestones are so important because they mark progress.
Yes.
And they kind of like let you take a little totem on your travels.
Yeah.
You know, so when you go to that conference, you have that experience, like, you really truly take away something for your life. And even like for soul showers, one of those things I hope is that people start to celebrate their own milestones.
Yeah. I think that's important. So when I love it. I wasn't trying to put you on the spot at all. I think that when you say something so defined as remove, like that creates a lot more energy that this might be difficult, right? And I think maintenancing and practicing and checking in and hygiene, because you're really talking about, like, you know, we have to take care of these things.
Right.
Like, that's being real about, you know what, it's going to come up. Shame's going to come up. Guilt's going to come up. Trauma's going to come up. You know, someone passing away and feeling
triggered by that.
Yeah, it's going to come up. Like, there's no like way to just remove these things, but being able to be in a practice to like deal that and cleanse and be real with it. I think that's really important to say.
Yeah.
So
it's a cleanse, it's a removal, and it's a repair.
Yeah. What's the heal in the sun mean to you?
So healing in the sun is like it came from me just talking about the work, and then I was like, oh, that's a thing. Like, that should be a thing.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times we're forced to heal in the shadows. So it's like, I know there are survivors watching this right now who it's like, they've healed, but they've done it by themselves.
Yeah.
And they've done it in their own room, in their own space. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's how we have coped and healed for, like, a long time in this country. And healing in the sun is really, like, trying to drive those processes in the sun, in public spaces, in places where we don't have to necessarily, like, coddle people who haven't been through it, and people who are fearful of or defensive around rape and around sexual harm. A lot of times we shelter the men in our lives. You know, we don't tell the men the full story of what happened or what their homeboy did or, you know, what really went on, because we feel like, oh, they can't take it, or let's just talk to the women about it. But there's a certain point where I think as women, like when we do open that conversation up and we allow others to see us in that vulnerable space, like what I've experienced is that men have come forth and been like, so I'm a survivor too. And, or like, you know, I've done something that's harmful and I want to learn how to do something different. And so even if it's not me directly having those conversations with people, the fact that Soul Showers is in the sun, the fact that I'm out here, like, you know, talking about it and it's an available resource, like, that really just magnifies the opportunities that we get to heal.
I feel like the sun part is also like just saying together, you know, that we need each other. Like you can only reflect so much alone.
Yes.
And you can get light into those areas. Like you can do some self-healing, but there's a whole other level that happens when you're vulnerable enough to let other people in and share in their experiences and go, oh, I thought I was the only one. Oh, you know.
Correct.
It just comes up. I know it's not me anymore. I used to thought I was I thought I was a little nuts, like caring so much about the quality of which we're connecting, but everything comes back to this. Our wellness and our ability to survive, be successful, be happy, be loved comes through our ability to connect with others. So of course it would be a part of a healing process.
Yeah. Connect with self, connect with others. Like something my mom was worried about when I was first going through like the assault experience in 2015 was she was like, I don't want you to jump into a group setting so quick because, you know, other people have trauma and I know how you are and you might take that on. And that was such a wise like thing for her to flag for me. And I remembered that comment as I became a facilitator of those spaces. And I remember that, you know, people are going to be triggered by each other's stories. And people are going to be triggered by how we're all telling our own stories. Right. Because we're not always, you know, we're not always going to tell it in the most empowering way to us even. Without like some practice and some, you know, time developing that language for ourselves. So something that I've noticed in Soul Showers space is that like I try to create like this open shared knowledge space where it's like all of our experiences matter, but like there are some ground rules. Like we're only here to empower ourselves. Like there's no other like real goal besides like we want you to walk away feeling good. Like I don't want you to walk away feeling bad. Like that doesn't make sense. Like it's a soul shower. So like
do you just have people I could just see you just leading people into a soul cleansing laugh, like you do that, right? I can totally see it. I'm like in it right now. But like some
of the proudest moments I've had in those spaces is when I have gotten down on myself and didn't realize it, and the people in the circle were like, Indigo, like don't call yourself that or don't say that about yourself, and I'm like, you're right. I'm like, actually, I didn't choose that, you know, was a thing.
And this is also why the group is so important. It's like you put it out there, you put the guidelines, and now everybody can have each other's backs. It's like you create a situation where there is structure for people to have each other
shared accountability.
Back.
For the goal and the vision.
I like it. All right, we need to switch gears, but I want to ask you, like, so we've talked a lot about Soul Shower and that work. We haven't talked a lot about your music. like what's your hopes and dreams with? I mean, these two things are always going to be a part of your life. It feels like so. What are you like working on right now? I mean, you're touring with your album. Like, where do you see what's next in your journey?
Wow. There's I guess there's a lot of possibilities, and I'm trying to stay really open to the abundance that I know is available in the universe. But definitely, I think what's speaking to me right now is like getting this music out to the people who want to hear it and need to hear it. And so just this past weekend, like I was interacting with a lot of kids who were like really feeling the music and just feeling my energy. Yeah. And that to me is like so valuable. Like if 10,000 streams was valuable, like this little kid who like took a picture with me last weekend is like, I feel like that's like a platinum album. Yeah. That's like how I measure success. Like, because I just feel like impact and young people and like them seeing like joy and like seeing like integrity and seeing someone go for their dreams, you know, is important. So I think I really just want to like tour this album in the places that I feel like it will be most impactful, and like really be with my people and like my tribe. And yeah, just offer this this album as a refuge away from the world or like the traumatic world. Yeah. And like my storytelling to be maybe a respite of that, and also like to help people navigate their own situations that they might relate with the album. I've experienced like a lot of like growth as a performer, as a vocalist, and as a writer, and so that's really what I want to keep doing is like continue to write songs not only for myself but for others, continue to direct videos and my own music videos and stuff like that. So I really just want to be all up in the sauce of like this healing, this art, this music, and like knowing people like my producer Richie, knowing people like fellow artists on the label 88, just like people who are so entrenched, like their life and the music and the art is just like all one big like burrito.
And
like,
activism in that too, really. Exactly. Yeah, in that group, definitely.
Yeah, those are my folks. So like being in spaces where I can contribute to their work, you know, if one of my songs could be like, you know, helpful in their endeavors, and that's what I have been hearing from people where they're like, there was a tough moment in this group and we played your song, or you know, or like we needed to break the ice so we played your song, we needed to empower these young girls so we played your music, and like that to me is like the success that I continue to aspire towards. Yeah, because I know there's a lot coming like behind me. Yeah, and so I just, as Ella Baker said, like I want to take these long strides so that our generation knows where we're going, and like I want that direction to like definitively be towards healing and towards like intergenerational connection and hope.
That's so important. I think that that's so important, and you've got a voice that is soulful and kind of like retro. Like I loved hearing you. I mean, I'm older than you, but I like went way back. I think I told you this when I heard your voice. I was like, ooh, I'm like remembering some old. I got like my CDs out. I was like, this is amazing. But I really like hearing you, and I agree with you, like how important it is for younger people to like connect and like to be in the middle of that, like to know that it's really important. I think it's really. It bothers me when I see people. I don't want to see any arguments that are ridiculous and based on race or sex. But age bothers me a lot too, and not just because I'm older, but like this whole Whoopi and Bella, was it? Oh, not Bella. Thorne. What's her name? Oh gosh, she's. Never mind, because I'm not even going to remember. But just recently, a young actress, model, influencer.
Came at Whoopi?
Yeah, came at Whoopi. You're like, say more. Yeah. Is it Bella Thorne? Is that a person? Bella Thorne? Look that up, Dee. I think that's who it is. Maybe the first names aren't wrong. Anyhow, she came after her because she, she got hacked. She had naked pictures in the cloud. And she got hacked, and it was not the first time that it's happened. So it happened, and Whoopi said something about, we probably should know better at this point, because like it's pretty easy to do that. And if you don't want things out, maybe not do that or find a safer place to do it, which, kind of have to agree with that. Like she wasn't, I don't feel like that was shame. That was just like, okay, like, let's talk about it.
That's her commentary.
Right, yeah, that's that's how she felt. She has a right to like share how she feels, right? She wasn't attacking this young girl at all. And then she came back and this cryful Instagram video was like, I'm disgusted by Whoopi and I would never be on that show with those old ladies. And it's just like, okay, what's different? These are both not right. Like this is not a situation.
Right.
Like why are we attacking each other as women?
I feel
like
seriously, could have been like, Whoopi, I'm kind of like bummed out that you said that.
Yeah.
But, like I see where you're coming from.
But maybe we need to talk about it. Yeah, like here's where I'm coming from. But she came out and maybe it's like maybe this is the right conversation to have. Like maybe it's this like I'm sensitive to this victim kind of like voice, or it's like she could take some responsibility. Like she had happened to her before, and it happened again, and it's like. Leaning into how tearful and what a victim she was, and then attacking somebody else for almost the same thing that she's upset about. Like, it's like we gotta. I don't know. Like, it's not like
says that the top way that people give up their power is by not knowing that they have it.
Yeah.
And so like this young woman, like she's in a place to like she has a platform, right?
Yeah.
So it's like. She can still tap into where her power is in the situation. Yeah. Yeah, her nips might be all over the internet, but it's like there's still power there.
Yeah.
Like I was like,
well, and maybe even having the conversation with Whoopi, like maybe you don't understand because you didn't grow up with like digital everything and like and the pressure on young women to like only show pictures that make them really look sexy, like right. And so, but to it's horrible when women attack women. Like it just like that's just not a cool thing to see.
It's
but,
boring.
Like, it's kind of
like we've already seen this. So do something different.
Do something different.
Like the same way we be changing our poses for the gram. Like change up your attitude.
Yeah. No, I think you said it best. I mean, it's like you have power in every situation. And it's like, okay, how are we going to choose to use this? And I really believe in our collective power. Like, this is why I do this. I mean, you don't have to, like this idea that we have to like have a commentary on everything that's going on and very quick. It's like, no, slow down and spend some time alone and figure out what it is that you want to say before you jump out there, and then invite people into that. I don't know.
For sure. No, so
it bothered me though. Because
definitely
the media really attacked Whoopi.
I have a lot of friends who are older than me, and I have a lot of friends who are younger than me. Like I'm all up in this intergenerational like clique.
Yeah.
And the people who are generally like way older than me tend to offend me in those ways of like, they just don't get it. And then the people who are hella younger than me, sometimes I be feeling like, I just don't get like where they're coming from.
Yeah.
So I wrote this song about it. It's on the album. It's called Just on Time. And it's like this notion of like, wherever you're at in the spectrum of age, like you're there for a reason, and like you have an ancestry, you have a purpose, like you've been brought into this era, this moment, like with the range of wisdom that you have and the range of experiences and time you've had here. So it's like that song is really trying to call on people to like find the power where they're at, and it might sometimes feel like when you're younger you have less power, when you're older you have less power, but I just encourage people to like find the juiciness of where you're at now, and don't take someone else's power to have that. Like you find your own power, but like if you're finding that you have to shoot somebody else down to raise yourself up, that's probably not your authentic power. Right. It's like us fighting over this pillow with like hella pillows.
Yeah, right. That's right. Totally. Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're not going to do the dice because we're running out of time. So I want to ask you the big question of the Relatable show. So I, one of the reasons I started doing this is like I really believe that we need to be reminded that this is what gives us goosebumps. This is what like charges us up with energy. Like having these interactions with humans like that check you. Sometimes they're just like, oh, yep, they checked me. I got that. That was a learning lesson. Sometimes it's just love, it's reflection, whatever it is, but we need to be reminded that that's really important. And so this phrase, exceptional human encounters, was like really in my mind this season, about how they're everywhere, and like, you know, like, can we create them more? Like, are we missing opportunities in the elevator with a stranger? So, so first I'm just gonna ask, what does the phrase mean to you? Like, how would you define exceptional human encounters?
Wow. So I guess it feels like constellation. Yeah. Like, it feels like everyone has a constellation that they're supposed to connect with, or at least understand, oh, I'm not just a random star. Yeah. Like, I'm a part of a system. Yeah. And like, to me, like, finding those other people that you're connected with is like realizing that larger purpose. Yeah. Like, literally, like meeting Rich, meeting Taina, meeting like 88, meeting my homegirl LJ. Like, these are folks that I'm just like, I know your tribe. Like, I know that like we're supposed to do work together. Is it a vibration? Like, it's like, here's your vibration, and then you just start vibration. Yeah, it is, right? Like, you start to feel yourself at a different frequency when you're connected with your people, don't you? Totally. Yeah. And there's that overwhelming sense of purpose. Yeah. And it's scary. So I think, like, when I experience a exceptional human encounter, it's like this scary moment of like, can I curse? I don't have to. Yeah, yeah, like, you can. Scary moment of like, I'm just flabbergasted. I'm gonna use that word. I'm flabbergasted that like I'm in the right place at the right time. Yeah. And then there's this like thought that's like, oh my God, I better do the right thing like again to get to the next person, like to keep it going. So that's how I know like I'm in the right place, is where I'm just like hella conscious and aware of what my next move is. Yeah. So it's never like I'm just autopilot and like I'm just letting life take me. Yeah. It's kind of just like, oh, I see like the numbers, I see the signs, so let me keep walking with that same intention, knowing that I'm purposeful. Yeah. And I feel like when I carry that like value for those interactions, I tend to carry that value for myself, and then I literally do things where I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Yeah. And I felt that. I want to try to mirror that a little bit and see if I can say it in different words, because I really felt what you were saying. And nobody's ever answered it that way. So this is a new definition that we've just kind of put out there, which is very cool. So when you feel like some exceptional human encounter happening, like it's almost like you feel like a blessing. Like you feel like, oh shit, nah, I'm swearing. Oh shit, I swear all the time. Why am I holding back? But you're like, oh man, this is for real. Like I'm supported. There is a God. There's something bigger than me. Like I'm feeling this blessing. And you're like, okay, I hear you. I feel you. Now I've got to make sure that I keep going. Hold up my end of the exceptionalism. Yeah. Yes. I love it. Yeah, it's good. Great. I can relate to that a little bit. It's like, because it's such a gift when it happens, like where you're just like, this was supposed to, it's like you're getting tuned. It's like an instrument getting tuned, right? And now you're gonna do something with that finely tuned instrument. Yes. Yes. All right, I love it. Okay, can you think of a time like recently that you're like, yep, this is kind of that definition of it? Like, and maybe it's someone you want to shout out that you're like, yeah, that was one of them. Oh, okay. So the first person that comes to mind is Regina Evans of Regina's Door. You can find her on Instagram at Regina's Door, and she's the owner of a vintage shop. And I don't even remember the first time. Like I'd seen her in the community a bunch of times, but like she is the epitome in my life of an exceptional human encounter, where it's like there's no doubt in my mind that we were born in this same like eon. Like we were born in this same chunk of time, like so that we could help each other on our healing journeys. And like the way that she's impacted my journey, like definitely speaks to how Soul Showers formed, definitely speaks to how my album formed. Like just when you find someone that like you can't help but pour into each other, it's just like, I don't even know where this water's coming from, but it's just like, it's just there, it's for you, I guess. Like it's one of those things where it's so beyond me, and it's a blessing, and it's a call to be responsible. It's a call to be urgent. It's a call to be compassionate with people that I don't want to be around, because I'm like, yo, Regina's in my life. Like I need to be a better person for everyone, because I was given this opportunity to experience human connection.
Yeah.
Like, and so I need to pay it forward. Like, I actually have capacity, if I'm real with myself, to pay it forward. And being in those human connections with people who are exceptional really provides me with a sense of like revitalization and momentum to keep being myself and to keep following my purpose.
Yeah.
So shout out to Regina, shout out to, you know, a lot of different people, but that was the one that came up.
Yeah, I love it. That's a great example.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank
All
you.
right. Well, there's one more thing that we get to do together, and since I haven't even looked at my cards, I have no. Okay.
We should get the shimmy in.
I know. Oh yeah, we got to do the shimmy. That's it, D. You're taking a butt selfie now. It's like I'm in trouble. I sometimes wish we need a mirror on him to kind of see what's going on over there.
We're connected.
I know, we are. All right, so the last thing that we get to do together is issue a social challenge of the week. And what these are, like just self-explorative, like things that you can do to have a different experience with self, or you can like ask a buddy. Sometimes they're like buddy exercises just to have somebody reflect on you. And it's really about learning. It's really about having a relationship with learning. I think it's really important that any person living on this planet today needs to have a very loving relationship with learning, you know, to allow themselves to grow. Because I believe wholeheartedly with every part of my body and soul that that growth is a natural order of things. And if we resist it, it's painful. You know, this is how we move through life. So relationship with learning. So they're just fun little things to do. And what I wrote down for today, and I want to see if I still feel this. So kind of back to the whole like sound bites and just kind of walking around kind of just being information, not human in a way.
Yeah.
Like I'm just carrying some information, but I'm not like really human is connection,
It's
right?
like, cool, I have Google. So.
Right? Yeah. Like, why do I need to carry information? So I kind of I wrote down why this label. So the social challenge would be this, an exercise about checking yourself on labeling. And so I think what it is, and you tell me how you feel about this and if we should change it at all. So I think what I want to encourage is, so as you find yourself like going about your day and in the next week, and you quickly like label something, people, let's just talk about people. You label a person. That person is this. Maybe it's just woman, maybe it, you know, girl, whatever. Whatever the label, I'm not going to call you out on whatever labels you're saying in your head, but you know what the labels you're saying. So when you do it, write it down, like notice that you're doing it, and then go, why that label? Like why would you call that person that? Right? Like just to check on like how much pre-programming, because I think what happens is we see each other through past experiences and lenses, and we just start to like go, oh, similar to this, so therefore that, and it's like,
because it makes us feel smart,
right? Well, yeah, and it's a boundary thing. You're just like, okay, yeah, I've experienced someone like you, and it wasn't good, so I'm gonna no, thank you, right? But I think we probably, and I'm including myself in this. It's like, I think that if we don't check that, we miss the opportunity to have an exceptional human encounter.
Definitely.
You know, if you're just like, I put a label, and now that label puts distance between me and this person, and now I don't know, like if their story or what they could share or what we could have shared together that could have like been super beautiful. Like, so what are you feeling?
A quote comes up for me by Audre Lorde. And she says, there's no such thing as a single issue struggle because we don't live single issue lives. And so what that like means to me is like, we're so intersectional, we're so complex. And like, she also talks about like differences being a point of celebration instead of and also a point of like sparking creative energy instead of like being a big issue. Like now we all have to be the same. No, we don't. But like what you said about.
We are equal, but not the same.
Yeah, no, for sure. We're different. We're so different. And so when we label people, we're like robbing ourselves of the connection that we might have with them. And we're also, you know, putting out, that idea that like, just because someone's, you know, a man, they've never experienced sexual harassment. Or just because someone's, you know, white, they must just completely their whole family must be wealthy. like, yeah, it takes away from the points of like connection that we can have so that we can drive some type of social change, like united forward.
Yeah.
And I think that there is like a larger agenda to keep us,
I 100%
generalizing each other and labeling each other so that we don't rise up as a mass. Yeah. And so like I love that you pose this challenge, and I guess what I would add to it is like, think about how complex you are, and like I think about how confident I walk through the world, and people tend to take that as like, oh, she's never been through anything, like, and whereas I haven't been through a lot, but I've been through what I've been through, and so like, never like cutting people short from their own experiences. Yeah,
I think what you just encouraged me to add to this is like, you can also pay attention in this exercise to the labels people are putting onto you. So it might be like,
or hey, you're to yourself.
Yeah, that's a real thing too. Somebody could say, like you're really bossy today. I'm like, well, today, or they'll say you're being bossy, and I'll go, well, today I am. Like maybe today I am, but that's not all who I am, right?
Right.
But just pay attention to. I don't think there's no one label that any one person I've ever met, and you guys could like argue with me if you want to. It's fine. That's how we learn. But there's like no one label that I can really identify with at all times. Like I'm not I have both female and masculine energy. I don't totally identify, like I don't want to be called a woman all the time or a girl. Like labels, a boss. Sure. And I think that we're all like that, like, so it's like, in this moment, this might be my label, but that's just one side of me. I'm wholeheartedly a human trying to have this experience on this earth, and it's pretty complex,
And like, this is the last thing, but like, I feel like this is important to also say is that agenda of like boxing us into different compartments that are not accurate is a huge reason why the mass incarceration system and the lack of a system for victims and survivors is the way it is. I think that a lot of the jargon and what's going on is like, there are these group of people who do crime, and then there are these group of people who are affected by crime. And it's like, no, that's not even true. Like they're all actually mixed up. Like they're literally mixed up. Like you can't like isolate those two experiences. Like there are a lot of people who are locked up who have experienced sexual violence. There's a lot of people who have experienced sexual violence who have also like committed those things. And so it's just really interesting for me to start to move the conversation away from like victims versus perpetrators or victims versus people who are locked up. And it's like, a lot of times we don't realize how convoluted those identities actually are. And if we like started to like not avoid the complexities of those things, then we can get to a place where I think solutions will be way more clear because they'll be more practical and they'll be closer to the communities that we're actually from and the identities that we actually resonate with. And I think like, beside like outside of like woman, white woman, boss, like there's also like relator, like healer, space holder, like opportunity giver, OG, like yes.
You win too.
Yes.
We're relators today.
For sure. And we're so much more than those words and those empty shells.
Yeah, I agree. So, all right, it's like label and title. I'll put some more instructions when I archive this. But I think it's a good time to just kind of check in, especially what we're getting ready to go into this cycle of debates for the presidential candidates for 2020. I think it's going to get really fierce. So it's a good time to check in about your own labels and see how you're labeling and just ask why. There's a lot of discovery in just that why. Like why don't I like this label that I'm giving myself? Why does this one feel good? What about this moment does this, feels right about this? And like, why am I labeling the other person? Like, where's that coming from? And is that serving me or them? So that's the social challenge of the week. That brings us to the end of the time, which we did go over, which I
gotta go.
I know. Anyhow, I loved having you here. We'll share all your links so people can listen to your music. Awesome. And you keep me up to date with what you're doing and stay connected. And it was really good.
Thank you
I love your energy.
This is so much fun.
Yeah, right? We can do this all day. Yeah. All right, so that brings us to another edition of Relatable. As always, I just want to encourage everybody to think about what they're doing to make exceptional encounters happen today. See you next week.
Later.